hello everybody. It's me, Suzy, and
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren.
so we're here. Welcome to the Starseed Hub podcast. It's our very first podcast for a number of many more podcasts to come under this series, the Starseed Hub. Now, Lauren and I have a very interesting connection, and we both decided that for this first episode, we'd be talking about the Pleiades, okay, which is a constellation of species that is very dear to both of our hearts. And it's pretty much what has tied the both of us together, right, Lauren?
Yeah. So we've been able to meet up in this lifetime and rediscover our connection from the Pleiades, which has been super exciting.
Awesome. Lauren, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do in your background?
Yeah, sure. So my background, I'm a registered nurse, and about 5 years ago, I transitioned into doing healing work. So I combine Reiki and energy healing with kinesiology and do a lot of sort of emotional healing and subconscious patterning work. And also do Pleiadian light code activations, do some wellness coaching and some holistic counseling, and I'm a meditation teacher.
Bloody awesome.
Just a few things, that's all.
Just a few.
Yeah,
you're so in one word I would call Lauren a healer. She's just so incredible. And we've both done sessions together. So Lauren looks after me, I look after her. We've both got some unique gifts happening and it just works, right?
Yeah, we love it. So cool. And what about you, Suze? Tell everybody what you do.
Okay, so another bit of a mouthful. I'm a healer too, okay, to put it very simply. But I'm one of the owners here at the Sydney Energy Healing Hub. So we're a scalar wave lounge here in Sydney in Australia. And we're the first unified healing affiliated centre that's been opened in Sydney. So yes, we are affiliated with Unified Healing. My background is so varied. I started off unbelievably working in marketing. I had a business degree, but then at some point I shifted from working in the corporate industry into health and wellness and was doing marketing in health and wellness. But then, had a number of spiritual awakenings and all of a sudden started to tap into my past lives and remembering who I was and the purpose of why I was here, started to step into my power and my purpose, which a lot of you Starseed souls or Lightworker souls that are listening now would resonate with. I started doing energy healings. I have access to that Akashic record, so I do a lot of karmic contracts, soul contract work. I also do past life healing as well, for anybody who may need that. I do a lot of Starseed activations, purpose work, and Starseed healings as well. I'm a medical medium too, so I do a lot of health and wellness stuff for people and help them on their path with healing of mind, body, and spirit. So, we're both healers. I would say in a nutshell.
Yeah, very well rounded. Suzy, can you just in case people don't know, can you just explain to them what the Akashic records are, just briefly?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some people don't, some people do. So the Akashic records, a lot of different cultures call it something different. But if you've ever heard of the Book of Life, it's basically all information, thoughts, feelings, experiences, situations that have ever occurred in existence. They're like they can be called the Hall of Records as well. And basically it's like an information highway. So what I basically do with my clients is I put them on some high vibrational music. They give me permission to access their soul record or their Akashic record, and I'll tap into whatever information is necessary from any timeline. It could be a past timeline, present, future, that they are needing to receive in order to either heal or find a common purpose or challenge that they're dealing with that we need to kind of work on. Okay. So it can be very healing. So it's not just used for the purpose of the ego to say, oh yeah, I had a past life as this, that, and the other. there is a really big objective behind being able to tap into that information. A lot of responsibility comes with that in order to understand, you know, via your guides and your higher self that come into this session, and they do communicate with me and they guide me and they say, look here, look there. And I ask them, well, why did you want me to view this part of this soul record for the client? And they'll say, well, you know, it's showing up again. They're not setting healthy boundaries, for example. So it's groundbreaking stuff.
And what's incredible about you, Suzy, is you've got a direct line to the Akashic Records, which is very special. It's a big responsibility. Not everybody's got a direct line to the entire Akashic Records. We've all got, I believe we've all got the ability to access our own Akashic Records. So Absolutely. We've all got that ability. I know in my work I'm able to access parts of it really only if it's in relation to what we're working through a healing session. If it's got to relate to a lesson that you know, a client needs to learn, or if we're going back to look at some subconscious patterning, you know, I can access it that way. But to be able to fully access the complete record is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I've got that. Now I will be sharing this with you guys every time we do an episode. I have a story from a client, obviously anonymously. It's like a glimpse into history, and we get to learn so much from history, don't we? But we get to tap into the galactic and the universal stuff too. It's not just on Earth information that comes through. Amazing things that have happened in our universe that we get to tap into. And I would say that's a part of the way, I guess, Loren, you and I kind of met and figured out that we've been in a past life together. Right?
It was wild.
Talk about that.
I think we met through a session, but I was very interested in trying out the healing technology, the scalar wave technology that you guys have set up in Sydney. So my intention was to use that technology because it really resonated with me. But before I did that, I had a session with you to make sure I didn't have any sort of blocks that were holding me back from receiving that healing technology, basically. And then I remember in our session, I realized really quickly, I was like, oh, I know Suzy. I know her from somewhere before. And that doesn't always happen to me. Like I don't know if I've had it happen very many times. And and I sort of thought, oh, okay, there's something here. And then I think we were doing a lot of online messaging. We're big spiritual nerds, guys. Like we are looking and researching and figuring stuff out on the daily, and we are messaging constantly.
We ask questions, and then the universe gives us the answer, either through clients or situations that we go through every day. So we're like, you know what, we've got to put this into a podcast. Everybody wants to hear about what's happening in the collective right now, the spiritual scene. But I remember that first session, Loren, that I had with you. I had a very a quick vision of you being in the Pleiades, but I think also you being in ancient Egypt as well.
Right.
And so and then your guides were telling me she needs an Akashic session, because you weren't seeing me for an Akashic session, you just see me for an energetic clearing before you use the E system. And so I thought, oh, okay, there's a story here. And then when I saw that you'd been in ancient Egypt, I'd started to suspect that I know you from somewhere, because the message that was coming through about why you were there and what you were there to do was very similar to what my purpose is. And I was like, oh, I think we might have similar purposes. So I wonder if we know each other from somewhere else. So then it just kind of grew from there. And I can't remember the moment exactly what it was, but we realized that we were in the Pleiades together, didn't we?
I know what it was.
Do you remember?
I saw it. Yeah, I was having a session in the system and I was meditating, and I got shown into the Akashic Records, and I got shown how we were connected in the Pleiades, which we're going to talk about anyway today.
Yeah. The cool
story.
Yeah.
So we should talk a
Sure.
little bit about the Pleiades to start with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're
Go
going
for
to be
it.
talking, we're going to be talking particularly about the planet Alcyone, which is
Mm.
where we're from, or where we met up in the
Mm.
Pleiades.
Mm.
But basically 7 planets in the Pleiades in the Taurus constellation.
Mhm.
And the
They're all named
Pleiadians,
after Greek goddesses,
Greek
aren't they?
goddesses,
Yeah.
they've got cool names, which is nice.
Yeah.
Very pretty
Cute.
names. And so Alcyone is basically, from what we understand, and we're going off the information that we've been shown together and separately, and we're kind of piecing stuff together, but Alcyone seems to be one of the main headquarters in the Pleiades, and that's where our mission together sort of originated.
Yeah, and I believe it was a situation where the councils of light were meeting there at that time. And yeah, okay, and that's right. Your first session with me, I was told that you were part of the Pleiadian the Pleiadian Syrian Council of Light, which were meeting on Alcyone. So it's kind of like headquarters for the council, where the council got together and made plans, and set them in motion. So you were definitely Pleiadian representative for that council, which is awesome. And so we worked that out in that first session, and then we were told that it's time for you to step into your power and start giving people light codes. Oh, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff.
And then the light codes came through. Which
yeah,
was
the next day
surprising.
you messaged me.
It
I
was
remember
quick.
that. Do you want to do you want to explain what they are and how it happens and all that? Yeah.
Basically, light codes are channeled to help people activate dormant DNA, and the codes that I channel come directly from the Pleiades, and so they are activating dormant Pleiadian DNA within people. So it's a little complex in that you don't have to be Pleiadian to receive the codes, although it's incredibly effective if you do resonate as a Pleiadian. It's always incredibly effective. But I guess if we're talking in terms of, starseed lifetimes, the galaxy's billions of years old, we've had multiple incarnations in different star systems. So along the way somewhere, you probably have spent some time in the Pleiades. Yeah. And also Pleiadians have been very sort of prominent in the seeding of human beings. And then that DNA.
They're one of the main or major players seeding a human being on Earth.
Along with the Syrians as well. Syrians have been a major player as well. So basically I channel the codes, and it activates your dormant DNA, which helps you to remember who you are, and also helps you to get on mission and live out your purpose. And it's lovely. It's a cool thing to be able to do.
I mean, I can speak as someone who's received these codes from Loren, so I can tell you about my experience. If you're, contemplating getting a Pleiadian light code activation with her, so I was the first person. I think that she practiced one. I think
you were my guinea pig.
I was the guinea pig, because I was like, oh my goodness, I want one of these, please, please, please. So for me, I felt like this beautiful golden light energy just moving through my body. It was so peaceful. It was just a very loving, calming, compassionate energy that was moving through my body at the time in waves. And then the next day I had this major, when you're like, there's so many emotions coming to the surface, you can't actually pinpoint why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. It's like, it's here. I acknowledge that it's here. I just don't know what the connection is. And I suspected it was because of the code exchange I had with Loren. Then after I had this day of full emotions and just tearing up, and I'm like, and I'm not an emotional overly emotional or sad person. I'm pretty
Yeah.
upbeat typically. I knew it had something to do with the code connection. I know, as any healer would know, the stuff comes up because it's ready to go. So I'm like, I'm just going to work with it, let it come through and see what happens. The next day I got up, I felt incredible. I felt pure bliss. I felt like I was on cloud nine, like so good, such a good feeling.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was this one particular issue at that point in my life that I was trying to deal with, and I was struggling to see the higher side or the light filled perspective of this issue that I was dealing with. And so there's a lot of emotions involved, right? And so I just, usually I would get triggered by that issue because I hadn't worked through it. I just let it go. I just had this, it was gone. It was just gone. And the person or the people that usually trigger me, surrounding this issue, I saw them and it did nothing to me. I was not triggered. It was just gone. I could see the higher perspective. And I was like, yep, all sweet you. That's done. So it's kind of in my way of, ascending further. So it definitely did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's it. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help you kind of, ascend further into that 5D consciousness that we're all working toward. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so we've spoken very briefly about our connection. Did you want to round that up and tell everybody what we're doing together, how I got to the Pleiades? And what we did very briefly.
Yeah. So basically, what I was shown in the Akashic records. And can I just say, like, if you had told me, like, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago that this is what I would be doing as a job, or that I didn't even know what the Akashic records were.
Neither
I was
did
very,
I.
very human. Like, it's pretty wild. So, but basically, Suzy was rescued from the planet Lyra, which we're going to talk about. We're going to do a deep dive into Lyra on another episode. But unfortunately, Lyra was caught up in the reptilian wars. A lot of people that were living on that planet unfortunately perished, or they were retrieved or rescued from that planet and became refugees on other star systems, particularly the Pleiades was prominent in that. Suzy was rescued as a refugee from Lyra by my team. And so we got her out of there, and she was in a pretty bad way when she got to the Pleiades. So then there was a lot of time spent healing and helping her sort of become well again. And then after that, we sort of started working together, didn't we? Do you want to tell everybody about what we did?
We did. Okay, so myself, I do remember being zoomed up into a starship, and I think our planet's name was Avalon in the constellation of Lyra or Lyra. And all I remember is having a feline body. So I know it was a kind of a white feline, maybe humanoid looking. But I remember looking out from this starship and seeing my planet blow up. And so it was a very traumatic past life memory for me. This is all I knew at this stage. I didn't know who had come to collect me. I knew it was Lyra. It was very upsetting, very sad. I knew I was alone, so I could remember that feeling. And then Loren was able to help remember the rest. And so basically they collected me, and I think I had some sort of, it's interesting, I'm still trying to work the details out, but some sort of connection to source, in the sense where the DNA that I had was quite useful, was quite pure. It was like a pure white feline DNA. And so DNA was Loren and her team's specialty. And so I then had rememberings in my Akashic records of Loren walking me through these wards, these wards of them kind of, trying to hybridize, splicing genes, putting together the best genetic template, because they at the time were starting to work on the Earth project, right? And together the Syrians and the Pleiadians were trying to work out the genetic template of this, new humanoid that would be advanced spiritually, physically, consciously, and there were current humans already on Earth, but they were, very basic. And I think you guys got to the humans just after I think the Anunnaki had manipulated and stifled their genetic potential. They basically wanted them as slaves. You guys came in to kind of free and expand the human. And so, Loren's light codes and the Syrians' help as well had a big deal to do with kind of advancing the humans. We did work together. After I went through a very long healing process and I was able to tap into those memories, the Pleiadians and the Syrians had an incredible understanding of the reptilians by this stage, understanding on how they work, how they think, what their MO was, where they were in the universe, what they were attempting to do, how to actually overcome them. And eventually you all teamed up with Arcturians and a few other species, Andromedans, and you shoved them down. Like you stopped them from doing what they were going to do. And then from there, the Galactic Federation of Light was formed. So it wasn't just the Syrians and the Pleiadians that were meeting together and joining forces. The rest, some of the main players in the universe, the big ones, got together and formed the Galactic Federation of Light. They wanted to protect Earth, but also the rest of the universe from being destroyed or taken over by the reptilians.
And that's because of what happened during the Orion Wars and what happened with Lyra. Basically,
there was a lot of wars.
That's the action that was taken after that, because it was so horrific.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank goodness for that. Otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to talk a bit more about the work that we did together and the science behind that as well before we move on?
In terms of like the DNA sort of stuff. I think you're better at explaining that than me.
Okay. So from what I can see and remember in the records, Loren's team did use some of my DNA from the Lyran, the pure feline, the white feline template, and used some of it to combine with other elements in the Pleiadian and the Syrian genetic coding system to enhance the human experience. And so there was a lot of scientific experimentation and, trial and error happening. And then there was a point where we hit the jackpot and we're like, you know what, check this out. This is the being that we're trying to create. It's our version of perfect, and we're going to unleash it onto Earth and let the hybridization program begin, basically, and let's see how that flourishes and where that goes. So that was a very...
And here we are in 2024. Here we are.
And then we stepped into some bodies down here too to try and do some more work, I guess. I think we're both doing a lot of work down here now. We've got our hands busy.
We've got our hands full, that's for sure. And what's super interesting, I guess, about me understanding my galactic heritage, and I've done a lot of work on my past life experiences, and basically every human past life that I've visited, there has been some sort of medical or health focus. Like I've always come in the earlier days, it was very much, as a healer, or as sort of like a counsel sort of thing. And then as we've kind of gotten closer to this timeline, it's been a little bit more westernized. Like I've come in, as a herbalist, I've come in as a doctor, I've come in as an orderly in a medical tent in the army, and this time I came in as a nurse. But it's like each time I've come in,
try and help and heal.
I love
that. I love that.
I had no choice to do anything else really when you look at it now, but
absolutely.
And it's
interesting
when
you know.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you can kind of do that when you're doing a bit of past life work. You can kind of make those links and go, oh, it's all been about the same mission for some of us. Yeah, which is really cool. Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question, Loren. Do you want to talk about some of the common, I guess, ailments or struggles that Pleiadians have here on Earth? And when we talk about, you know, soul origins, guys, as you know, the universe is huge. So as a starseed, you could have origins all over the universe, okay? But if you are now kind of playing out your Pleiadian origin, it's because whatever it is that you were doing up in the Pleiades, it's relevant here, and we need that wisdom and those abilities to unfold here, okay? So if this, what Loren is about to say to you guys, resonates for you, you most likely are playing out a Pleiadian timeline. Go for it, Loren.
So Pleiadians come from quite a high vibrational you know, constellation. So they're very loving beings. And some of the struggles, I guess, that Pleiadians face when they come down to Earth is that they're used to such a high vibration of love, and healthy love, I should say that, in all of their relationships, is that they can struggle in their relationships on Earth. So it's really, really common for, and this is common for all starseeds, but particularly Pleiadians, to incarnate into very dysfunctional families. Pleiadians are very susceptible to the narcissist empath relationship.
Oh, that is so common, isn't it?
Yeah, we see it all the time in our work, because Pleiadians are master empaths. And a part of their job, a lot of Pleiadians have incarnated on Earth, whether they're light workers or light bearers. Our job is to basically transmute all of this dark energy on Earth, right? So Pleiadians are master transmuters. They transmute heavy, dense energy, and they transmute it into light. So a part of the journey of the Pleiadians here on Earth is to learn how to do that in a healthy way so they can still function as a human being, because as you can imagine, if you're taking on everybody else's stuff and you don't know what to do with that, it can end up making you feel really, really unwell. And that's something that's really, really common. I know both of us see that in our work. So a big thing for the Pleiadians on Earth is to learn how to have healthy boundaries, because they come in boundaryless because of their high vibrating, you know, beings of love.
Well, they're all giving to each other. Like the Pleiadians are a service to other, you know, species. So all they know is giving, because people in the Pleiades are giving to them. So they just naturally give. They don't have a need to give to themselves, right?
That's
and then they come in here into this physical 3D, 4D reality, and it's the energy so dense. There's still a lot of people here that are just service to self. And so they seek to take from these Pleiadians because they're just giving is their nature.
Absolutely.
And then they just hit this roadblock and they feel so drained and resentful at the end of the day because they just don't know how to give to themselves and set those boundaries.
So classic people pleasers, classic, you know, not prioritizing themselves, don't do well with lots of sort of chronic stress either, because they are empaths. So you're feeling everything all the time. So Pleiadians get overwhelmed easily, for sure. I guess some of the health stuff that we see with Pleiadians, emotionally, there's definitely, you know, levels of anxiety and depression amongst the Pleiadians on Earth. But we also sort of see some interesting stuff like, you know, trouble with blood sugar levels. That's a really common. It sounds something like it's unusual, but it's something that we see a lot. And it's something
I've had it. You know, you've had it. I know so many Pleiadians that have had it.
Really, really common. So not just not just unregulated blood sugar issues, but that can also lead into diabetes as well. So that's common amongst Pleiadians here on Earth. And I guess that the dysfunctional relationships is probably the biggest one, I think.
Absolutely. And the key here is, if you feel this is resonating with you guys, it just means the more you learn more about yourself, the more you're kind of 2 steps ahead of the game. And so we're talking about all this, dysfunction that can happen. So it means you guys, more than any other soul, have to maintain and manage your stress levels. And I would say for Pleiadians, sound therapy, time out in nature for grounding.
Oh, massive.
So important.
Oh
my goodness, the amount of Pleiadians I've seen here in the energy hub, they walk into the center and they're like, I've come home, leave me be, lock the door, don't come back.
Absolutely.
Because it's source energy, and your soul does not forget that feeling. And it's like, I'm being refreshed, I'm being recharged, nothing can get me here, leave me alone.
I know. I always say I need 2 weeks in that system.
My God, like, I need every day of my life in that system.
I know, and we work there.
We work here as well.
I think probably the other thing I forgot to mention, sorry, about the Pleiadians is because of that empathic nature and taking on everybody else's stuff, and also, the dysfunction in the relationships and the issues with boundaries, really, really common for that to tip over for Pleiadians into addictive behaviors and having addictions. And that comes from either wanting to suppress what they're feeling because they're feeling too much of everyone else's stuff. They mixed up with, I don't know what's mine. I don't know what other people's, I don't know if I'm carrying other people's stuff, not being able to discern. So using sort of soft addictions, things like food, alcohol, cigarettes, recreational drugs, scrolling is huge, even binge watching TV, anything that you can sort of suppress the emotions or try and escape from them is a really, really common sort of thing that I've seen through my work with Pleiadians, and certainly stuff I've experienced myself as well. Like, I've definitely been on my own journey with some of those things, and it really, the best thing you can do if you think that you're Pleiadian, even if you think you're not, even if you think even if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't even know what these women are talking about, we all need to learn how to have healthy boundaries in our relationships. That is key, and that is key for Starseeds, because we come from such high vibrating planets where people are naturally respectful of boundaries. It just happens naturally, right? Like, there's just that respect there. People feel species, I say people, we're not people, but species feel safe, and here on Earth it's different.
And in the Pleiades, there's also that beautiful balance of the masculine and feminine.
Right? It's really special.
They've learned that. They've had that learning as a species, and they've mastered it. And so that's why they are such good teachers for us here on Earth. Because Earth is also like the planets in the Pleiades, where their consciousness is a mix of masculine and feminine, right? Because you can get those planets or those species that are purely feminine or purely masculine. We're a mix, and so our challenge is to balance the both. The Pleiadians have already done this, so they're great guides to have for Mother Earth when we're struggling with balancing the masculine with the feminine. And as you know, when the masculine is out of balance, it moves into the toxic masculine. You get we're in the narcissism era, we're in the toxic patriarchy, and then same with the feminine. You can get the toxic feminine as well, the too much giving to manipulate, So we need a good balance, and we need to look at the Pleiades as this beautiful and balance of masculine and feminine. And I think we were talking about this the other day, Lauren, and we were talking about how sometimes the Pleiadians, when they come through to make contact, they come through as a masculine and a female as counterparts. And sometimes you can't differentiate between the two because they just seem like one. It's very tricky.
I've had this experience recently while I was working with someone, and it came through that way, and I was like, wow, I can't even discern like which ones, but they were the perfect. Between them, they were the perfect balance of masculine and feminine energy. And what's important about that too, and this definitely resonates with the Pleiades, is that when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, that's not gendered. Like,
Yeah.
so we're not
Yeah.
talking
It's not
about like a
physical.
man and a woman. We're talking about a balance of energy. So that can come through as a male and a female. It can come through as two females who have the perfect balance of energy. It can come through
Absolutely.
as two males who have the perfect balance of energy.
Mm.
And that's what a true counterpart is. And we
Yeah.
all have a counterpart, whether they're here on Earth with us or they're,
In spirit.
or they're back on the home planet doing work there, whatever's happening, right? But
Yeah.
and what we're also aiming for is, as human beings, is to have that perfect balance within ourselves of masculine and feminine energy, whatever gender we are. Yeah.
On the micro level, absolutely. On that note, should I quickly run down what the traits of the masculine and the feminine are? And as Loren said, like, they're not attributed to physical, appearance or physical attributes. Or gender, absolutely. So with the feminine energy, it's very nurturing, it's being in your flow, very intuitive, very caring, just going with surrender type of an energy there. And then and very creative as well, tapped into the creative. And then when we look at the masculine energy, it's more analytical, more efficient, protective, as opposed to nurturing. Not overprotective, just protective. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we've got, using the mind over the heart, so more thoughts over intuition. And so that's why the masculine energy needs the feminine energy. And if you look at any partnership, a marriage, a friendship, etc., the ones that work well have mastered that balance within themselves, and they know with their partner when to step into the feminine or the masculine to bridge the gap of what is needed in that partnership or that team.
Absolutely. Okay?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's so important. And that, that's one of the big struggles on Earth at the moment, isn't it? It is where a lot of our problems are sort of rising from, is this imbalance with the masculine and feminine energy, imbalance within people, within partnerships, however it might play out.
It's happening on the micro level in families and relationships, but it's happening in the collective. And yes, the divine feminine is rising. Ladies and men out there, we need it to rise. We need it to come and meet its masculine counterpart, so that the divine feminine feels safe to come out and express itself. Because the divine masculine has been suppressed as well, and with the toxic patriarchy, with certain religions and etc. in the world, they do aim to have that level of toxicity at times, and it's not what our higher consciousness is needing as a collective. So we are shifting, aren't we, Loren?
We are. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
I'm not sure at this stage if we're shifting quickly or slowly anymore, but it's happening. Hey, should we finish up quickly by just talking very briefly about maybe like just what our experiences have been like of what the Pleiades looks like, and what some of the species. So we didn't. There's more than one type of Pleiadian as well. There's different species on the Pleiades. So for me, from what I've been shown in the records, where we're from in Alcyone is a very advanced civilization. So it's very, in terms of like what the building structures look like, very futuristic. Like, I couldn't even compare it to anything. I don't know. I was sort of saying for a while it's like Singapore on steroids, but it's not.
Yeah,
like,
I love that. I love that.
It's more.
I would kind of assume, because I've seen Atlantis in the records, that Atlantis was kind of, built on what Alcyone represented.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
it was like a Alcyone was Atlantis was the prototype to kind of match up where Alcyone was, because I think the Atlantis was started from Pleiades as well. So, and Lemuria.
That's so true.
One had the masculine, and the other one had the feminine strategy.
Absolutely. That's going to be a whole other podcast we talk about.
There's a lot there.
And in terms of like, colors and things like that, like the the Pleiades has the most beautiful skies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you guys imagine like a perfect kind of sunset situation. So we're here in Australia, in New South Wales, and we get beautiful sunsets, and there's lots of like that pre-sunset where there's lots of like pinks and oranges and purples in the sky. That's what the Pleiadian sky looks like, I feel like, all of the time.
Yeah, I've seen it in the records, purpley pinks,
Yeah.
and I'm like, take me there. That looks pretty.
Yeah, it's stunning, right?
And I think there's more than one moon as well.
Yes,
I've seen. Is that what you're recalling as well?
Yeah. And
there's a couple of moons.
The way I remembered that was recently I was rewatching the Star Wars trilogy, the original.
Oh, yes.
Remember when I did that to try and trigger my memory?
That was awesome.
And that was one of the things that triggered my memory. I think it was in Star Wars Episode 5. Is that Return of the Jedi? And they were on a planet with more than one moon. And straight away, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, the Pleiades has more than one moon. So that's something else that you guys can do at home too, to trigger your memory, is read different things and watch different things. Like, you know, all of these sort of futuristic movies and things that were ahead of its time, and things like Avatar and Star Wars, like they do have some basis in our reality, I feel like.
Absolutely. You know? Art mimics life all the time. Somebody had a dream and it came from somewhere. You know? If you can think it or imagine it, it's real. It's what I've in this line of work. That's what I've come to realize, that nothing is make believe. Like, it came from somewhere. If you ask enough, you'll receive the answer of what that origin is, you know, of whatever it is that you're seeing.
And I think it's just, you know, being able to be open to that. And it can be a lot when you sort of first figuring this stuff out. You know, it can feel like, you know, am I going crazy? Or, you know, I'm sure we've all been through those things. But
a quick Google search will have you find that actually you're not alone. You're not crazy.
Definitely not alone.
Plenty of podcasts, plenty of articles written about all this phenomena, which is great. We're living in a digital age, which is awesome. But should we have a quick chat about what our next episode, our exciting next episode is going to be? So we're deciding to do the Lyra species. So there's quite a few different planets there in Lyra, different species as well within the Lyran constellation. There's not just, you know, we've heard about the lion humanoid looking. There's so many different species. So we're going to be sharing some stories from the Akashic records of human Earth beings who have had soul existences in Lyra, so we can get a better idea of what was happening there and what was you know, kind of the intentions and objectives that are behind that species.
Super exciting, because both you and I have got Lyran heritage as well.
We've both had a lot.
Cool.
I think they were the first civilization to be created in this universe. So they have a lot to teach us. They're ancient souls. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening to us. And if you have any questions or want to share any information, we love hearing stories. So please do share your stories with us. And stay tuned. We'll let you know what date the next episode's going to drop. Any feedback would be amazing. Anything you guys want us to discuss further, we will bring up. So just let us know. So I guess that's Loren and Suzy for you guys, signing out of the Starseed Hub podcast. That's a wrap on episode 1. Bye, everybody.
See you later. Bye.